Welcome back, everyone, for the third day of week 4 of Creator Spotlight, a whole summer where we're gonna take a look at awesome Made with Unity games so that we can give back to you guys. So you can learn how to become the next great Made with Unity indie dev as well. I'm Carol. I'm the Twitch host here at Unity, and this is my awesome host, Hassan. Hassan, how are you?
Hello. I'm good. Doing great. I'm Hassan, community manager for Unity, and co-host on the Creator Spotlight series. So happy to be here for the third stream of the week.
Yeah. I noticed your background's different. Did you move?
Oh yeah. I moved to a new place.
Look at how
This
fancy.
is not a virtual background.
It's real. But you still have your 3D printer. But where's all the smoke coming from your 3D printer?
Oh, I still haven't hooked that up. I need to hook up the what the audience calls the smoke machine, but it was actually just a humidifier.
Okay, I actually thought it was a smoke machine. I thought you wanted to seem
just
very futuristic. And
no. Just trying to keep the room not dry.
Yeah, awesome. So for this week, we're going to be featuring an awesome game from Navegante Games. We're going to see 3 of their developers for their game Greak Memories of Azur that's coming out August 17th. But before we get to that, Hassan, tell us what we should be paying attention to.
Yeah. So, I mean, you may be joining us from Twitter, from Discord, from our different platforms. Maybe you might be watching us on the Asset Store right now. If you're not coming from the Asset Store, jump on over there because we're on the final week of the Smash Hit Summer Sale, which is called the Last Chance. So it's 50% off the bestsellers of the entire 6-week sale, and it's going from now and through to August 9th, right? So you've got like four days left for 50% off incredible assets, all kinds of assets to build your game. And I'm gonna highlight a few just like some assets that I think could be useful to many games. So right now we have Super Text Mesh. Text Mesh. This asset is great for having like super powered text in your game, animated text, implemented easily. So I'm just gonna play the trailer for this.
I would just like to say that I appreciate that the Asset Store publishers put as much work into their trailers as our game developers do.
It's actually kind of incredible.
So what does this asset allow you to do?
So this one in particular allows you to kind of like put in different font, allows you to animate the font, like in games where you're like having a conversation with another character, and when they emphasize a certain word, you'll see it be animated and jump around. You can actually implement all of that with this asset, right? So you don't have to go in and like code that yourself. It comes with all the parameters. You can have your text look exciting, scary, fun. You can choose the speed at which the text appears. So it's really gives you a bunch of control when it comes to dialogue and conversations, especially in like text-heavy games. Mm-hmm. So definitely something that can save you so much time if that's the type of game you're going for. Yeah. And we have another asset that's on sale. And speaking of incredible trailers, this is an asset that allows you to like, it's just kind of like a workflow tool. It just makes the workflow within Unity just feel that much more smooth. And that's called Peak Editor Toolkit. So it's a suite of tools that allow faster development within Unity. So let's play the trailer for this. It's also on the front page of the Asset Store right now.
Introduce me. Here I come. Yeah. Here I go. Woo! Ain't no limitations. I just got that elevation. Do whatever I feel. I feel elated, so elevated. I'm just keeping it real. I'ma be feeling good. What you want? Feeling good. What you got? Feeling good. I'm gonna do what I do. I'm gonna do what I do. Put it all together. Ain't nothing better. I'm gonna do what I do.
So check out the Asset Store for a bunch of other amazing assets that'll help you build your game. And like Carl said, incredible trailers by these publishers.
I appreciate that one. It got us hyped because I'm really excited for today's stream. So we can cut over to take a look at the trailer for Greek Memories of Azur by Navegante Games. So that was Greek Memories of Azur by Navegante Games. It's going to be out on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, Nintendo Switch, on Steam on August 17th. Welcome, team. So thank you so much for coming here. So nice to have you.
Thank you so much for the invite. We're super excited to be here.
Yes, awesome. Rodrigo, why don't you start? Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your team.
Sure. So as you mentioned, we're called Navegante. We are a studio based in Mexico with collaborators all over Latin America. And we focus on hand-drawn and 2D games right now. Our first game is Greek Memories of Azur, as you said. I'm the co-creator with Gustavo, and I'm also the lead programmer. And I am happy to be the guide for your technical overview in a few minutes.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you. And I know Anna just did a little bit of traveling. You're back in Mexico, right? Hope you had some happy travels.
Thank you. Yes. Nice. All went well.
Yeah. I think we were just joking before this because like all of your team is in Mexico right now and me and Hassan are in Montreal in Canada. And you guys are like in like jackets.
Yes.
We have like literally the opposite weather. I'm sweating right now in Montreal. It's so warm.
It's cold right now.
Yeah. Nice. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the game? What is Greek about?
Sure. So Greek's an adventure, single-player adventure game about three siblings. Greek is the name of the main character of the story, where you will start with him. It's a story about you finding your siblings, and between there's an invasion going on of an enemy faction, and you're trying to reunite with your siblings and try to find meanings to escape this invasion, since it's already a lost battle. So the core idea of the game is that you will alternate between them. Each one of them has different abilities, and you're meant to be traversing an interconnected world. And yeah, that's pretty much the idea. And we're happy. We actually got a demo right now on Steam, which Anna is about to show in a few minutes, and it pretty much can tell you what the game is about.
All right, so let's just jump into the game.
Please go check out that demo. It's
check it
so
out.
Much fun. I ran through it. It's great.
Yeah, go wishlist the game, support the devs.
Yeah.
It helps them a lot.
Thank you. I'll get started then on the demo.
Awesome.
I'm just wondering, if you play through the demo and you save and then you buy the game, does it continue from that save point, or how does
Actually, no, because the demo is it has a different order from the main game.
I see. Okay.
So it's pretty much super compact to make sure that we show the core gameplay of the game. So it will actually change after the third level. It has a different order on the main game. So the first section, what we're about to play here, is the prologue of the game, and after that, the third level is the one that it changes between the full version and the demo version. So unfortunately, yeah, I cannot carry on, but yeah.
So just wanted to show a little bit of Greek's abilities. Of course, we have a double jump, right? We have like Greek has a crossbow, so he has some range attack and some arrows that we can see there in the left corner. And you have some other abilities like upper dash and down slash. So there's some other abilities that we will be seeing as we progress.
Chat's already so very excited. They're like, so many reviewers are waiting for this game.
Awesome.
Nice
so
art
cool.
direction.
Thank you, everybody.
Beautiful. Yeah, I agree. This is a beautiful game. Totally.
Thank you so much. We're super excited to. We always are very happy to hear comments about people. We've seen a lot of positive reception about the demo. That's something that really get us in the morning and get us super excited about release date. You know, it kind of gets a bit nerve-wracking knowing that all your work will be there for everyone to see, and you know you cannot control it. It's out there. They can play in any way they want, but the fact that there's so many positive reception has been super delightful to see.
Yeah, definitely. Shout out to Team 17 who's in the chat to represent their game. Hello and thank you.
They've been an awesome partner for us. I think they helped us to fulfill our full vision of the game, since the game is it kind of got a bit larger than we thought initially, but we're super happy how it's turned out.
Surprise.
Yes.
Yeah, that's all the time for devs.
Yeah.
That's never happened before. I've never.
Because you always are like, oh, what if we do this? Oh, what if we do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so as you can see in the demo, Anna is currently just using one character. Our take on the game is that we wanted to make sure that we gave you a lot of abilities that are already like a given in most platformer games. For example, we gave the players double jump from the start. We gave them a couple of combos with the sword, and Anna hasn't shown it yet, but you got a dodge ability, and you can climb on walls, stuff like that. Because we want to make sure that the core idea of the game is that each character has its unique abilities, and they will have some character progression, but we want to make sure that that's like the core idea of the game, that instead of gaining abilities, you will gain full characters with a lot of stuff with them.
So I was, this game was kind of a surprise to me. I knew I had talked to you guys. Obviously, we talked a little bit before I tried it out, but and then we'll see soon. But I actually wasn't expecting it to be multiple characters. I thought, to me, and I think if you've heard this really often, this has it's very reminiscent of Hollow Knight, just the look of it. Mm-hmm. And so it got me excited. That's a game that people remember. It really stays in your mind. So, a lot of the times as gamers, we just want to re-experience similar games in that, we want it to become an entire genre essentially. But I was really surprised. There's some really great fun. I thought it was just going to be a hack and slash game, but it ended up being very interesting.
Thank you. Yeah, we actually played a lot with plenty of ideas. The game has been in our minds for a long time. I think just recently we started to push it as a serious endeavor with full time and everything. But before that, we tried many ideas to see what we liked. Mostly games you are fond of. For example, I was very fond of the Lost Vikings, and Gustavo had a very deep love for a SNES game for Lord of the Rings, where they alternate between characters. So there's some things that we thought got lost between the generations and games that we wanted to encompass here. And we always wanted to keep the game being hand-drawn because we think it adds a ton of value. Anna is about to show you the core part of the game, which is changing between characters. So right now it's a very brief tutorial, so you can press the directional pad to the right, and you can select.
With this, you can select different characters, and each one of the characters has different abilities. So if I play with Greek, it's more of a melee. If I play with Adara, it's a range attack. She has her magic, and instead of the double jump, she can levitate. Yeah,
I was partial to Adara.
Yeah,
she's been the favorite for most of the streamers that we've seen.
Yeah.
And
My
also for
favorite as
us,
well.
for all the team.
Yes. Yeah, we like playing with her.
But you do end up, I think I find myself jumping, even though I prefer her, I still like jump to the other character because it's still
Yeah.
like
My
a different
favorite.
dynamic and it's really
Yeah.
fun, right?
Yeah. I probably shouldn't choose favorites, but yeah. I think each one of them has their different traits. That's the idea. We want to balance them out properly.
Yeah.
The other character won't be we won't be showing today because we want to keep it a surprise for people when they play the full experience. But we want to make sure that each character feels unique and different, has their unique take to be a part of the team and feel like its own personality and everything going through.
Yeah.
So
Can you explain this, Rodrigo?
you can go ahead.
So here, as we can see in the tutorial, by holding the left trigger, I can control both. So we have a mimic mechanic, that's how we call it. And so with this, I can, by holding it and I can control both characters at the same time. And if I let it go, then I just control one. So that way I can decide how many of the characters I want to control at the same time.
Yeah, so that was mostly because once we started testing this idea, there was a lot of things that we thought, and people, that's the first thing they come to mind, like, oh, I'm gonna have to drag this character along the experience, and it might be tedious after a while. So we want to make sure that we had a solution for that. So that's why the mimic idea, I think, worked very well. I've seen a couple of people asking if they can toggle the ability or not instead of holding it, and that's a setting we added. So everyone gets comfortable while playing it, but I think that makes the whole traverse of the characters very easy to do. And another thing is that each character will have awareness of their surroundings. So, for example, if an enemy comes by, they won't just stand there. We don't want them to be like a drag to be along. We want to make sure that the full message of the game is that when they are together, they're stronger.
Yeah.
So that's what we wanted to encompass to the gameplay as well.
Yeah, I noticed that as I was controlling both of them together, like the character would be aware of, like, they'd have to climb a ledge or they'd have to jump over something, and it never felt like I was dragging them along. So I think that was really well implemented.
Another thing is, go
This
ahead,
is
Anna.
another mechanic that we have. So I showed you the mimic mechanic, which is controlling the characters at the same time. This one is the regroup mechanic. So by holding the right trigger, you can pull the character like that is in your screen to you.
Yeah.
So here, for example, by holding it and jumping, she comes to me. So that way, if I drop her, then by holding the right trigger, she will come to me. So
Yeah,
that's the other.
so this might be slightly confusing for some players, and we've seen it. It's a bit of a more complex one, which I think people get used to it while playing. But the idea is that it's very hard to do pathfinding properly in these games, and we didn't want to make a dumb AI that it might get you to fail at a couple of jumps, etc. So we want to keep things manual and under player control. So what the characters do is they will walk towards you, and you can jump. If you press the jump button, the characters that are running towards you will jump. So it's kind of a weird one to explain, but you have to try it. But that way, we will let players be able to play the full experience, and they will be able to control this movement instead of solving it for them. Since we didn't want to do a middle ground solution with AI that might fail a couple of stuff like that, so we want to make more like skill based. And also another thing that I want to say is that the game is mostly trying to be as accessible as possible. So we're not. It's gonna be a game mostly on the easy side. It's more puzzle based. So we know it's a bit complicated to play around with both characters and stuff like that. So we want to make sure they are not pushing you to be like super in a very complicated dexterity-wise situation, right?
Yeah, no, I thought that's that wayfinding regroup was like such a great quality of life thing for these type of co-op games.
Yes.
When I saw that, I'm like, that makes total sense. We should always have this. No game should never not have this. And I totally agree. There's something, you said it like stupid AI, but Man,
Yeah.
nothing's worse than like a host
Yeah.
mission.
Yes, 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 yes.
So I really like that.
Those escort missions, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Escort mission, sorry. Yeah, this is really great. I really loved it.
Yeah. So that's the first part of the demo. If you want, we can continue, Carol, like after
Yeah.
digging a little bit, like later if we have some time after. And like Carol and Hassan were saying, there's a demo on Steam right now that you can try, free demo. And we also have a demo on the Nintendo Switch
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
So
This
you can try. Mhm.
pretty much the full demo, so yeah, you can try it out yourself. And let us know your thoughts.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
now everyone in chat has been like commenting on the art, obviously, nonstop.
Uh-huh.
So I think we can give them what they're asking for, and we're gonna do a deep dive into the like progress of the art. You're gonna talk to us a little bit about the hand-drawn animation
Sure.
and like building the environment and all of that. So let's jump to Rodrigo's screen,
Sure.
and we'll look at some of the art. Yeah.
Awesome. So let me know when my screen is visible.
Yes.
All right.
Perfect.
Awesome.
There we go.
Good. So we prepared a small sample scene with some stuff that we can play around and talk through the stream. And if everyone got any questions about it, please let us know. Anything you want to ask or see. So yeah, as Hassan was saying, the game is fully hand-drawn. We started doing it on paper initially, but it took quite a bit to clean up and stuff like that. So now we're doing it digitally. But I actually wanted to show some examples here. So, for example, here we got a pretty easy setup. Let me show you. So the characters, one of the mechanics in the game, you will find these fire pits, and we wanted to make a pretty simple, well, kind of an interesting take on it because as you see, there's water here. Hold on, let me enable the. I think I need to reset some stuff, but hold on. So this is pretty much the dev menu, but yeah. So here you can toggle any character. So let me show you real quick. So one of the ideas was to make sure that yeah, so we wanted to make a puzzle where, as you see, there's water there. You can do stuff with it. And one idea was to be able to pick up a torch and move it along, and then will need the other character to bring it to you. So this kind of like these are the core puzzles we're trying to do in the game. So we are making like a pretty strong case of why you need to team up and be together, because you cannot push the raft yourself, and if you fall in the water, it will go down, right? So this is pretty much the mechanic, and I wanted to show you what it all encompasses through animation. So if we look at this slowly, characters got a turn animation. They can jump, right? And if you see, they fall in the meantime, and they can also walk through it, right? So it looks kind of simple, but let me show you how this starts. So this is pretty much the process. So we start with a basic idea. Our lovely animator, Nico, he might be on the stream, but he is awesome because he talks through animation to us. So he's like, hey, what can we do this? So this was a super early animation he did, and we kind of kept it on our back of our mind. So it was like, hey, what if the characters can bring something along, right? And maybe the other one can cover him while he carries the torch. So sometimes another team member comes with an idea, but he's very visual, so it's pretty fun. And after that, so we do it in parallel. So the first thing is, okay, so maybe this might be a good idea. So we prototype it in game, no animations, or maybe placeholder animations that sometimes I make, sometimes he makes. And after we agree that it's a good idea, this might work, we can do a couple of puzzles with this, let's try it out, right? So the first thing we do is we do like a mock-up animation like this. So we draw every frame. as I mentioned, so these are pretty much what you've seen. For example, this is the walk animation. You can see like there's no art in it yet. It's just the bare bones of it. So we pretty much try to, for example, here's with color, same animation. Yeah. So what we do is we, at this stage, let's say like a draft stage, we implement in in-game. So for example, here I got an example spreadsheet. And let me know if I'm going too fast.
No,
No,
no.
just to add to what you're saying, Rodrigo,
Yes.
That's a very important point, because from a production standpoint, by us first doing like the draft animation and trying it and trying the programming and everything, that allows us to know how many frames of animation that will require in advance, and also like scope it so that to see like how much it would take to do like that action specifically. So when like Rodrigo said, when it works and when programming wise it makes sense, then that's when we start like detailing the animation. So
sure. Yeah. So what we learned a lot through the creation of the game is that we don't want to commit too much to an animation before testing it, because as you will see, there is a lot of a long process involved to having it be finally at this stage cleaned up and with all the detail. So we will try to we put it in the game, and then we let it, especially when it's for the main characters or if it's a interesting mechanic, we'll just let it in this draft stage for a while, and after we played around with the game enough, we say, okay, this actually is working very well. Let's actually finish the whole thing through, right? So if there's a couple we left behind that way, and that way you don't commit too much to the whole thing. So yeah, so let me show you.
I'm curious, what's the turnaround time on that? Like, it's so interesting that you guys are working in parallel like that. So like you're doing it, you're testing it,
Yes.
come back. How long does it take for your whole team to like draw it, go test it out in code, and then come back and then make modifications and go to the next animation?
So I think it depends on the animation. Sometimes some actions are a little bit more complicated, and some another thing of the animations for us is like depending on the character, it could be more difficult, because there's characters that have lots of clothing or like hair involved, and of course the movement has a little bit more of work behind it. But I would say like depending on how many frames, like if we have like two, like let's just say, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if we have like two actions, for example, like Greek jumping with the torch and Greek walking, maybe the detailing can be done like those two actions in one day, I would think. And then after it's details, like we send it to another process, so another member of the team does the cleanup process. So it's two steps. So first is the animation, then it's the cleanup process, and then it's the implementation. So it's put on the sprite sheet, like Rodrigo's gonna show, and it goes through that process just to be implemented in the game.
Yeah, for example, I got another animation right here. So this is just a walk cycle. So we kind of test it in this stage to make sure like the colors are okay and everything works. And after that, detail, color, and this is where cleanup comes, and then it's actually like this in the game.
Amazing.
So what we do is we try to these borders right here are super important for us. This is our markers. As you see, the character is moving along its axis, and these pivots allow us to properly slice it up on the sprite sheet, as I'm about to show right here. So this is pretty much all stock Unity. We got used to it a lot. I know that you saw pretty cool assets in the asset store, which I'm excited to try out. But we got used to the tools right now. So what we do is we use the markers to properly place along each character the edges. It might not be precise because this is mostly an old spreadsheet, but we try to keep the corners completely tight. And after that, we do the pivot over another character. So for example, here, I placed it on the scene, and we can see the animation broken down. So as you saw, hold on. So here's the draft animation. So that's how
Rodrigo? And what you're saying is very important, because if it's not pivoted correctly, then you can see the animation shaking. So it's not like, it doesn't look as fluid. So that's why that's a very important process to make it look smooth.
Yeah. So at this stage, after we tested a little bit, we saw that, for example, in here, we needed the turn animation. So I just make a mock-up like this, and then actually it gets properly animated. Let me show you right here. I don't think I have the turn, but I can show you the sprite. So here we got the turn animation.
This is the final.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is, let me show you the previous iteration. So this is the draft. This is the pretty much with color, but it looks close to final, but you can see some minor details in there that are pending. And this is after cleanup. And after that, you can see we made some adjustments to the size of the torch they're carrying. And some people might be wondering how we do that the characters seem to seamless grab the item. Let me just replace again the spreadsheet with the updated artwork. And so this one. And as you can see, we got multiple spreadsheets for a single character. So
yeah, something important to mention is while Rodrigo does that, is that when we say, hey, how about Greek? What if Greek gets a torch and then he has like it does this action, right? So then, because we have 3 different characters, the 3 of them should be able to have the same action. So it's not only thinking that Greek is gonna carry the torch and have the turn action. So for that one, for example, is 4, like Rodrigo was saying, which is the turn action, which has, if I'm not mistaken, between 5 and 6 frames, maybe. So each one of the frames gets drawn individually because it's hand drawn. So it has the turn, the jumping, the walking, and the landing, right? So like it has 4. So if you think about now we have Adara, right, and you have Rydell, so you have to make all of those animations for them for each one of them. So
that's the fun part.
That's the fun.
Having
But
3,
also the hardest part.
yes,
To keep their own personalities in each action. Yeah,
exactly.
This is something
Right.
that
Adara,
people cares too much.
Yes, like Adara is super detailed and super like like she's very careful, and like Rydell, for example, is like more like grabbing it like differently. So like keeping that personality in the characters has been like something very important for us.
Yeah, that's something super important, especially in this type of game, that you have to make a lot of planning what the characters will wear and what they're gonna do, since you're gonna keep it on all frames. So we want to make sure that they don't have too much detail, but it's enough to have a good personality.
One thing I love is that, like, if you are making a character pick up a torch, I notice you're not like just swapping out the arms and putting in new arm animations to hold the torch. You're actually redrawing the entire thing, which then I guess allows the artist to put in that personality into the whole animation, right? So
Yeah.
maybe the torch can be heavy and so they lean forward, or depending on how they are. Yeah, which is great. So it's a lot more work, but it pays off.
Yeah, but it's fun. It's fun. We love to do that.
But like you say, Hassan, those are the details that we really want to be very careful, like to make sure we have them so that it brings like this added value too.
Yeah, I think hand-drawn is a lot of work, but it returns you a lot of stuff back, because, for example, people seem to really like the style. We love it, and we also, I think it lasts a long time. So there's some animation that are kind of off in the game, and they fit perfectly with the rest, and that's not something that happens often in different art styles. And I think hand-drawn has been. You can see it on Disney movies, for example. They are timeless, right? They can be.
Yeah.
And hopefully the game will age the same way. We hope it does. But for us, that we've been trying this style for a while already, I think it has been excellent. So something I wanted to bring up is that, for example, here, as you can see, the item is independent, but when they take it, it's like in their arm. So you're like, okay, so how is that done, right? So this item right here, it's just an instance. As you can see, it has a rigid body, like a just a box, so it can collide with the edges like this. But when you take it, the idea is that let me show you real quick. So when you take the torch in the character's arms, it will disable. It would disappear the show you the lower part of the torch right here. So it kind of disappears it, and the animation has a pivot or where the torch should be at every frame. Right, the top part of the torch. So for example, here we go to the animation.
So the fire is coming from the torch, but the
Yes.
animation itself doesn't have the fire in it.
Yes, it's just the lower part. So for example, here, let me show you. There's a lot of animation. So
I guess that simplifies. If you had to draw the fire within the
Yes.
frames of
Yes.
the animation,
Because-
it would have been a limited kind of.
yeah,
fire,
because
I guess.
also it's important that the fire starts to go down with time, so you know the fire is running out. They got distance, so you can see that it's kind of like a bone in 3D. So here it tracks the top part of the torch with the animation, and that's where we place it, and we disappear the lower part. That's how we make it look kind of seamless. I think we may be able to add some transitions, but sometimes it's enough because when to make there's always we always like to add intermediate frames, for example, when they turn, but there's always a design purpose to make sure that gameplay is first. So if it makes it slow, we just remove it. For example, here, when we did Greek jumping, right here, it has a slight warm up before the jump, like this. And if you see the final spreadsheet, it doesn't have it right here. It just directly the jump.
Right.
It's because it was feeling a bit sluggish. So we want to make sure that it's always gameplay first, right?
Did it
So
feel like you would press the jump button and they wouldn't
Yes.
jump right
Yes, you
away?
want
You'd
to
have
make-
to wait
yeah.
a bit. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, those are the kind of
Everything
things. Those are the kinds of things we want to make sure that we try before we commit. So yeah, that's pretty much an idea. And if you like, we got a couple of examples here.
It's like the balance between the animator and the game designer. It might look better as an animation to have the
Yes.
build up,
Yes,
but when you put it in a game, it's not quite as. Yeah, that's interesting.
I have to say that the team is really good at that because you would think that the animator wants to go like crazy with the frames and the
Yeah.
game designer wants to be like, no, only this
Yeah.
two because of performance, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But they're really good at balancing and like I
no,
think
yeah.
That's
they're
amazing.
really good.
And we love adding frames to everything. So because it feels so good. It feels so good, you know. Those little details, they add up and they start feeling. For example, when characters are on ledges like this. Let me show you.
So funny.
It's a bit more complicated when, as I mentioned, you have two characters, so like this, and if you have.
Oh,
I love the sword
So-
wobble.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
so many of this. I think that's the first thing. I was watching a lot of like, I watch a lot of people mention it. That they were like,
Let me-
there's so many idle anticipation, like just great little things that you added in the animation, which is really surprising because it's all hand drawn.
Yeah, I think they add a lot of personality to the characters. So yeah, I got a couple of examples here of other animations. As I mentioned, this is for Dara when she's turning the torch. This is our walk cycle we were testing a while ago.
Oh, cool. That's nice to see.
And when it's drafted, here's a post we did earlier with a breakdown of a character. This character is in the demo, and as you can see, they're all drawn and they go through the same process. This is like a small concept of a cinematic we are having the game. So this is how we sketched out early, and this is pretty much when it's closer to being done. The animation, it's all the frames, all the detail, and then it comes with color. This is another style like early in the process. This is, for example, when we're testing how characters should swim. This is what Nico suggested for the movement, and we pretty much when we tested swimming, these are the frames we used to test out the movement. So you can see nothing detailed. It's just to test out how it feels, and if we like it, then we go into detail to see about the transitions. This is an adult character you will find in the town. So you can see here the super early concept, and here is with detail.
And I noticed there were those bigger animations, like when you fall off the bridge. you see the character falling. You do a little perspective trick as well.
Yes.
Yes. Is there a
So-
different process for? I guess you can go all out with those ones. You can do whatever you like because it's an actual cutscene, right?
That one is those cutscenes we really wanted to get some in specific moments of the story because we feel like it's good for the player to connect.
Nice.
If you see like it happening. Those do have a little bit of a different process because in those ones we since they're larger, you want to have as many frames as possible just so that it looks smooth. So those have a little bit of a different process. We go background, we need to check the background, we need to check like it's more of like a mini clip, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like we try to get some of those in the.
This is where the animator can just go all out, right?
Yes. So these are just examples of the cinematic clips. The cinematic clips inside the game, we do them on our end, but there's also a much longer features at the beginning and at the end of the game. I won't spoil too much, but those are made for our another studio that we work together called Bellolandia. They have helped us a lot with longer feature animations, but the ones that are inside the game, we do them ourselves. Pretty much the same process, but it's a bit more tricky because it's full screen and there's a lot of camera movement involved. I just mentioned that where you want to focus the whole action, right? So yeah, I'll just go through this real quick. So if people are curious, so this is our enemy, the early stages and the cleanup.
Also, the backgrounds are tricky to finish because you have to be sure about your scene or your level in that moment to make the background for the clips.
Sure. Yeah, so I got an example of a background that I'll show you very briefly. So these are the characters in the demo. These are super just cleaned up, ready for everything. And this is the one I showed earlier. And this is just another character when it talks to you.
The animations are so good. It's so thank you so much for showing
So
this
cute.
behind the scenes stuff. It's like wow.
Thank you.
I'm just wondering, well, two things. The animator, are they self-taught? Did they go to like an animation school? And then
No, that's the cool thing. Nico has been working with us for a long time, and we've grown so much with Unity and with the project because we started with Unity 5, this project, and we've learned so much. We tried to make the game many times different ways, and just recently we know what we wanted to do and we committed full time. But before that, we worked part-time in the game. After work, we put some hours in, and he was self-taught. Before he used to be do sculptures, right, Gus?
Yeah.
And we started working with his brother called Sebastian, and he brought Nico along because he was pretty good at animating on paper. And after that, we've been learning a lot of the process and getting used to pretty much all drawing everything, right?
And both Nico and Sebastian are in Argentina. So like we said,
Yes,
we're a small team, but they are located in Argentina. So actually Rodrigo, Gustavo, Sebastian, animator, and Nico is our director of art. They both started with the project. So like Rodrigo said, the project went for a long time being part-time and kind of like,
getting the hang of what we wanted to do.
And then we were able to grow the team actually after like partnering with Team 17. That helps us a lot. And so we started growing the team a little bit more. We got at some point we were 8. So we were able to grow, and all of them, like we are based in Mexico, some Latin America like Argentina, Venezuela, Ecuador, Chile. Yeah. So yeah.
And
so this is sorry, Hassan, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. I was just wondering because I'm sure many people are curious. Like, what animation program did you use? This is a question that usually comes up.
Mostly Photoshop.
Nice.
For the drafts, sometimes we used Flash.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Oh wow.
Classic. Why would you sometimes use Flash and sometimes Photoshop?
Flash is for prototyping mostly, right? Because like Flash is just for the
ideas.
So just for the basic idea. So that's very easy for our director of art just to put like, what about this, and so Flash, and then once it goes like, since it's more of like a hand drawn, like they draw it like directly on Photoshop, and then that's how like every frame gets drawn.
What about for cleanup, Gus? They use
AC drawing or the line of the cleanup. I guess that is open source. AC drawing.
Great,
Yeah,
So funny. Oh my gosh, I haven't used. It's so funny. I still wish people were using Flash. There were some great
it's
things
such
in
an
that
amazing
tool
program.
back in the day.
Such an
I did
amazing
all my
program, yeah.
animation then too, and I kind of
Yeah.
miss it.
Same.
There's a great
Same. It
aspect
was so
to it.
fun.
Yeah. Nico gets so used to it. It's like he sold shoes. He's just so used to it. I remember I even got him a newer version. I think there's a newer Adobe version of an I don't know how it's called, but it's a newer Flash version. But yeah, he couldn't get it on it. He was so used to using Flash now that that's super quick for him to prototype stuff.
And yeah, and he's unbelievably quick on even if it's like just like drawing like a frame by frame, like he's very quick at animating, so that's pretty cool.
So another thing is, for example, here I want to show you. I'll show you in a second about the scene in the game, but this is just how we do the rest of the artwork. For example, there's some scenery that are more specific. I'll show you in a brief also the terrain system and all stuff like that. But right here is like a big piece of art that we have to put, for example, for an interior in the game. So this is mostly been done by the rest of the team, the art team, the background team. So we do is we usually do a draft, a super early draft. Let's make an interior with some stuff in it, right? So super early, and then after that we do like a line art for it. So this is pretty much the idea of what we want to do. We'll test it this way in the game to see if it fits, if it looks okay, and after that it's more like a shadows where everything, how the depth of the scenery will work. Here's pretty much the framing of the camera, and this is the sprite sheet inside the game. So you can see like this is the background. These are the sprites that go in front of the characters. This is just because it will have different lighting. The window. I'll show you in a second about that. So yeah, that's pretty much how we do the art this way. We also, as I mentioned, we use a lot of the terrain system and for an asset. But yeah. So yeah, let me show you real quick about that.
Yeah, I guess
If
you're
you
gonna
want,
jump
yes.
into showing us the tile tool you've used, or how you did the terrains actually.
Sure.
3D terrain,
So
yeah.
for terrains,
Level design.
yeah, we use an asset called per 2D terrain in the game. It's so good. I think we got used to it so much right now. I think once you start committing to a project, it's very important that you add assets that you feel like they will add a lot of value to the project, but not to have any overhead on the rest. I think the asset store is fantastic when you're trying to play around and see what you want to do. It's so fun. But once you start committing to a project, you should be pretty aware of what you want to add. And for example, here, this asset has been so good. So how it works is, this is pretty much how we create geometry in the game. So for example, here, let me put a wall, and it is so fun. It's super weird for me that I love the game so much, and it's super cool to have a game that feels at this point, I guess, finished, but you can do so much with it, like have so much fun. Like so anyway, this right here, we got the terrain has different top. Let me show you real quick here. So these are the top parts of the terrain. You can see how they got like an faded alpha in between, and we also got a texture that is the center. So how it works is that let me show you. I think. Well, anyway. Yeah. Okay. So this is how it works. So you can see like how they merge with the fill, and then you can change here the different parts of the terrain, and then you can do like that just geometry. It has a polygon collider with edges, and that way you can merge this type of hand-drawn art with this geometry, and that's how we do most of the levels. These are like the core section of the game that you will be playing in, and yeah, you can just change it like that, and now you have something completely different, right? So pretty fun. And and regarding that,
So just quick to iterate this then, right?
Yes.
You can just quickly put something together.
yes,
give and take.
yes,
That's amazing.
yes. So
It seems like such a powerful tool, honestly. And
yeah, and I
it take
think
a lot of tweaking to get it right for like, when you extend things and like just to make it look right. And
yes, I think one of it was a big learning process to know how to make the terrains that fit the art style, because there are some basic examples with the tool and how set things up and etc. But once you get the hang of it, we put like a diffuse shader on it as well. We use them sometimes in the front of the characters to pull the characters and show their outline, or in the back to show big pieces of. For example, we got some mountains, or let me show you real quick. So, I'll show you this scene in a second, like in more detail. But let me show you here. So, for example, this right here. This is a terrain, for example, the trees, and that's something that we've been learning a lot how to do, like really taking advantage of the tool.
Yeah.
To make sure that we use it for more stuff than it is intended, right? So we've learned a lot. We got used to it already. So that's what I'm saying. When you bring an asset along, you have to make sure that you're gonna use it so much that it will help you out a lot. Because once you start upgrading the project and moving to consoles and etc., you want to make sure that assets have a lot of code in them to be general purpose. So you want to make sure that you understand very well when you need to fix something on the insides, right?
Okay.
You don't want to carry too much of those. Once you're committed, before that, I think anything goes. It's super fun to play around and see what you like. Another thing that I want to show is, for example, here we got some examples of how we use lightning in the game for sprites. So it's very subtle. I don't know if you will not see it too much. But if you can see the library behind, it's very dim, like it doesn't reflect too much light. And as you go along, this one looks a lot more burnt. So what we do is we use shaders to have a different percentage of lighting between the assets. So you can pick it, for example, here. Let me show you. Yeah, so in here you can decide how much light does it receive, and that way we can simulate different materials. So you want to have metal behind, or have for example, we got a level which has snow on it, and you don't want to burn it too much with the light. That's the kind of stuff we do with it, which is something that has been super important for how lightning works, because our characters are meant to be these beings of light. They reflect light everywhere they go. So, for example, you will go into a cave, and they will just produce light everywhere, so you can see the rest of the geometry, and also it has to be properly lit to feel like that, right? So yeah, if you got any questions, feel free to to cut me off. You're super happy to keep sharing.
Do you ever use it to like give an idea of distance? So like this bookshelf is further away from the character. This one is closer.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that helps a lot too. Yeah. So we do use a 3D space for everything. Maybe not in this scene; it doesn't look very well, but I'll show you in a second the full scene with art, and it does have a lot of depth, and we use a perspective camera, not orthographic, and we do use a lot of different light values for how things are behind, right?
And that's for also to achieve the parallax effect, the perspective camera.
Yes.
Nice.
So another one that is pretty cool is this one here. This is a shader that we use to make things like merge with the background. So what it does is it adds the color on the sprite like this. So completely encompass it. It's kind of different because it adds the value to it. So if you want to make like a foggy scene, for example, like this, you want to make sure that it is in the back, like with the whole fog of the scene. You cannot do it like this. I'll show you a few examples in a bit, but that way it can merge with the background much better, and it still has the same properties as these bookshelves, that it can reflect light in different values. But that's how we do like the whole depth side of the art, right?
I have another question from ACC991.
Sure.
Since you showed a little bit of the load design, is the world streamed as you go, or is it divided in levels? I think we might talk about some optimization things, but like kind of curious about how you build out the levels.
So right now it's level by level. We do each scene individually, and there's a lot of handcrafting in each scene. So let's jump into this one, for example, the one I was showing. So this one here, it is just a scene. Since we put everything together, it's a bit hard to match everything, and also the world is meant to be. So let me show real quick about the map. Let me just run the game. So if you can see here, we got the map of the world. I won't show too much, but the areas of the game are meant to be far apart. So you are traveling to a different location. So it kind of doesn't fit the narrative, and also allow us to be handcraft each area a lot. So it's not streamed right now. It's just level by level, area by area, but they will be interconnected. You can go to a lot of places from the start.
I love the look of that map. Actually, I hadn't seen it.
I hadn't seen that either.
In the demo.
Looks great.
Thanks.
One thing I would love to get a peek at, because you mentioned it just previously, if you could show us the scene view of the scene you're in right now, and then maybe give us like a look at an angle so we can see those layers. Maybe we can full screen this with audio.
So as you can see, there's a lot of parallax involved. How
Amazing.
things are set up. It will actually move around the world as you go in the world. So that's pretty much how we do the parallax. And for example, here, when you go to the interior area, for example, this is the one that we were showing earlier, right?
Oh, so are you turning off certain assets and turning on others when you go from?
Yeah, it's some of the things I will mention in a bit, how we pull a lot of stuff in the game to make sure that it runs properly. This is, let me give you a rundown of the whole scene if anyone is curious. So we got a chicken right there.
Gotta have chicken.
That's so cute. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, actually, a fun fact is that the chickens will behave differently with the characters.
Yeah.
But when you play it, try playing around with the chickens and see how they react to each character. So this is the exit. You will go to another area. This is the main hub of the game, so not too spoilery. Just you get here super early, and you can see characters are waiting for you to interact with them. He has a quest. We got some stuff here that you can pick up and cook some stuff here. For example, here, a lot of stuff. Here's one of the animations I was showing earlier, where she's talking to you.
Oh yeah.
And
there's the other one, person at the table.
Yes. So for example, here's the tower. We hope people enjoy the game a lot. I think there's been a lot of work to make sure that the game encompasses the whole world we're trying to build and show everyone.
It's so beautiful. We have Masog in the chat saying, "Hey, one of the QA here. Love being involved with this game and can't wait to see it get released."
Thank you so much.
Thank
you. They've been so nice to us. I think they're such an integral part of the team. QA has been fantastic. I think when joining Team 17 has been, I think there's so many highlights of joining them, but I think having the game being QA'd so much has allowed us to make sure that the game matches the quality of their level and our expectations.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much for all the work you have done to the game. So because the QA also suggests a lot of stuff when they're testing, and we appreciate a lot when they give us their input, like, hey, maybe this is too hard, maybe Here, I don't think this is quite designed as it should be. And then we have a brief discussion on the bug tracker. It's super fun.
Yeah, they know the game so well that
yes,
it's great that they come up with some ideas and solutions. And it's like, oh, nice. I didn't think about that. So cool.
That's amazing. Yeah, you should never underestimate QAing your game and playtesting.
Yeah, they're the QA heroes, and we call.
Yeah. So, for example, here is another spreadsheet of the whole world. How we split it up as part of the optimization bits we wanted to touch on. Try to keep things as tight as possible. I won't lie. Sometimes it's not as easy because you don't know how the scene will grow. So sometimes you have assets shared between scenes, but we mostly try to keep everything under control like this. So, yeah.
I guess, Rod, that that scene is good to show how it works the overlay shader well with the pine trees. I guess.
Sure.
Yeah. Let's see that.
Let me show you.
So the shader that plays when you go behind an object, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That,
merge it with the background. Yeah.
Nice.
Let me show you real quick with this one. Actually, this one's over here had it, right, Gus?
I guess yes.
I think they do. Let me show you. Okay, I know. No, this one's done, but let me show you real quick with this. So as you see, like it's super foggy behind, and we do have, for example, this one does. So we want to merge it with the background. So for example, here, this is how the asset is painted, and when you add the color, it can kind of get washed out like this. So that way, we can make all the sprites match the foreground, right? That way.
That's great, and I understand that when you go behind certain objects, like if there's an object in the foreground and you go behind it, we'll see oh, there we go. So can you show us how you implement that?
Yeah. So let me go to the other scene so it's easier to explain without so many assets. So over here, I got an example. It's our character over there. Yeah, so what we do is we use the stencil buffer. So let me show you real quick. So let me turn on the other character. So the cool thing is that we wanted to make each character have, let me just open the scene slightly so we get some more area of work. Here we go. This box here is the camera limits. So the camera won't go anywhere near this box here. So when you constrain it like this, the camera will never cross this line, and even if it's getting closer or farther, just to make sure that you don't see any edges. But yeah, regarding the stencil, let me sorry, I just usually go into tangents, but yeah. So just right here, let me show you. So this is how we do it is you got a shader. Each character has their own shaders, right? So as I showed here, for example, here in the tree, you get the color gets added up to the sprite. But for the characters, it's just a regular. We use a lot of the Unity built-in shaders and we modify them. So this is the sprite shader that Unity comes with stock. But what you do is that the game, I don't know if people are used to this, but there is something called the stencil buffer when you're rendering. And let's imagine each pixel has a value like from 0 to 256. And you can write anything to that stencil buffer, and that can you can do anything with it. So it's a different layer for what if you see each pixel has its own color, but the stencil buffer has a value. You use that for masking stuff, things like that. But in this case, what we do is that each character will draw a different number. So for example, Greek is a number 1, Azur is a number 3, for example. And after that, we use like this. Let me show you. So each character has a different value, and in here, I won't want to get too technical, but you can select, depending on the number that comes through, which character has its own color. So let me. Sorry, I didn't have it open, so I guess you'll have to wait for it to. It doesn't take too long. Yeah.
Maybe we can take some questions from the chat.
Yeah, so you can see here, like each character has its own value that writes to the stencil buffer. You can take it and then select each pixel that gets written into the stencil buffer. You can select it here and change the color. So that way it can be blue or whatever. And we try to use, there's not too many. So we use one for each main character and one for enemies and one for general stuff. So it's easy to read when they're covered. You know, it's something hostile, or maybe it's one of your main characters.
And I'm guessing that doesn't change depending on which location you're in. It pretty much stays the same. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, part of the system.
Something you set up once and you're.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that makes it easier. And I think one more shader we want to look at is the water shader that you have in the game.
Yes.
I remember as I was playing, I found myself jumping in and out of the water, swimming through, because I just loved it so much, and I love the way like the character gets deformed when they're under the water. It's very convincing.
Yeah, so for the water, I think we're hesitant to adding water first because there was a lot of work, but we're so happy to include it because it's such a fun thing to show.
But that's every dev's like proving ground there. Like,
I know, right?
You got to do water shaders.
Can you water?
Yeah, I actually seen a couple of your streams, and it seems that everyone shows their water. So I think it might be a tradition right now.
Oh yeah.
So
we need to do a compilation of that.
Yeah, we do.
And I just said it's kind of like a proving ground. So as you can see here, so the characters they can jump and they can go into the water. So they have two different states. So when they're over the water, it's just surface swimming. They will get attached to the surface. So for example, here, if the other character jumps through, they will also move the other character along. And once they're under the water, then they go into this state of just being able to turn. And you can see that when they are over their head, they do this turn to make sure that we don't have too many animations. And they remote like this. So how the shader works is actually kind of simple. So in here, let me show you real quick. It's actually, so you can see here, this is the mesh that gets deformed. And if you see on the top, let me show you. It should be here. So this right here, this is a hand-drawn animation on the top. This is probably the trick to make it look seamless. So here are the frames. So there's a lot of frames, and actually I'm surprised how quick this came up to be, because we're just testing the idea and it seemed to work very well. So the top has like a line renderer that has this animation playing out. It connects with each other. So if you see it here, let me see. How can I show this? Well, anyway, so this connects with a mesh that has a shader on it. So for example, here, if we remove the line renderer, the plane underneath, it has a fade in towards the top. So they merge together. That's how they look seamless between each other.
I see.
And the shader in between, so this is a mesh that gets deformed with the planes. Let me show you.
And does the line also get deformed? Like the line that you're jumping into?
That looks pretty nasty, but let me show you real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how it does is it's a quad with subdivisions. So let me actually remove this so we don't have a lot of noise. And actually, let's just remove a lot of stuff so you can see how it is made. Remove this also. So yeah, that's more clear, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that way you can see how it gets springed between each level. This is probably the hardest part, to make this mesh. there are a lot of tutorials how to make it. I won't lie, I saw a couple so to learn how to make this waterline.
Yeah.
But once it is made, you have to apply a texture to it, to the mesh that gets performed like that. And that's where the trick comes from. So what we do is we do something called a graph pass. What you do is you take the previous frame of the scene and you use it within the shader. So you can do anything you want with it. So what you're looking here is actually the previous frame. So the next one doesn't get rendered. Everything that comes with the previous frame, you can do whatever you want. So for example, here we got a noise, right? So you can see on the top, it's a lot more notable. And that way you get, like, you can modify it. And these are they are called Perlin noises, which are like pretty much textures with deformation. And in here you can select the pattern and
So is it essentially taking a screen grab of the previous frame, making it part of the water texture, and then adding a noise to it?
Yes. So you take each different pixel and you multiply it by this Perlin noise.
Okay.
And then it gets modified like that.
And then what happens to your actual character that's there? Wouldn't you end up seeing two different things, or is that character completely hidden when
It's completely hidden.
Okay.
And the cool thing is that so this is just like a zero gravity space for the characters underneath. And once they go over this line, they are considered to be on the surface. And you may ask, like, but right here, he's under the water, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is he in or is he out?
Right.
Well, the truth is that he never goes out of the water like that. So the trick is, like, this is our water line, and you can see here are the borders. So the character is attached to this point. And the logic is split from the visuals. So what you do is that the characters are actually, if you see his sprite right here, the little bubble here, that's his collider. And if you select the waterline, it's actually completely attached. So what we move is the sprite of the character. So it has the body, the circle is his body, and even if he like springs along, let me just go like this. So he just replicates the movement of the water, but he never gets moved from the top. So you can pretty much split the logic that way, and once the character goes down, then it's actually below the surface, right?
Oh yeah, nice little trick there.
Yeah, that works very well also for the platforms, since the platforms are a bit more tricky.
Yeah.
Because characters can't stand on top of them. But that was the cherry on top, we want to make sure that there's things over the water and things you can do on it.
I'm sure once you did this, you were like, okay, we have to have full water. I put this much effort into the water. We got to have a water level now.
Well, actually, there's a lot of different directions with it. There is not specified a water level, but there's a lot of things water related in the game.
Nice. So you made full use of it.
Yes.
Nice. Amazing. And now I want to look at the custom lighting shaders. So, like, I know you use custom lighting and color correction. Specifically, use Amplify Color in the project, which is another asset store tool that you can get for free now on the asset store. So I'd love to see your use of that. And, how it works. We'll post a link to Amplify Color in the chat.
So the fact that it's free is awesome. I think it was already worth the money, but if it's free, there is no way around it. So as you say, we use a lot. The color correction has been one of the core things to make the game look like it is. So it's a part. One of part is making the sprites and the characters and everything, but it also has a lot to do with how the scene looks for the ambient. So for example, here, let me show you real quick. So this is the game, and this is without color correction. So you can see it looks completely washed out. It doesn't look as contrasty and as cool, So what we do is we use this asset to, for example, right here, there will be, I won't get too much into spoilers, but while you play the game, there will be changes through the world, so you will be able to visit different areas, and they will change. So, for example, here I got one that looks pretty much at night. Well, when you exit, it resets, but the camera bounces. But here you can see how it changes the mood so much, right?
Yeah.
So this is the first step to a change in scene. So or a different area, we want to make it more like a desert area. So you want it to be hot, or you want to make a cave. You want to make it more constrained. So, for example, we got another one here.
To add to that, Rodrigo, so lots of that we do it separately. So we do like a first Photoshop, like we prototype different scenarios and how they look. And then once it's in Photoshop and we like it, then we translate it to Unity, and then we do that.
Yeah, so let me show you real quick how that works. So for example, here, this is pretty much how the loot tables work. So this is the one we use in the camp. This is all done by the asset. It's so good. So what we do, as Anna said, you can export a frame within the scene, and it will give you something like this, which has different values. This, you can import it back to Unity. So this wasn't made by us; it's done by the asset. So good. And here you can actually adjust the color value. So, for example, here we got one of the team members, Jorge. He's so good about adjusting colors, and having the feel for it. So he mostly does this. I play along with him, so I give him the frames, the scenes, and then we pick it to be in the right color. So here you can play around with the scene, the mood you want to give it. For example, here more gloomy, etc. And after this, you can take this screenshot, import it back, and it will give you one of these tables. And then you can use this one in the game to fit your needs. So that way you can have different moods. It's so good.
So wait, is that a feature from Amplify, or is that something you're okay? That's what. So you can just they allow you to go reverse.
Yes.
Go make what you want in Photoshop and bring it in. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yes. It's so good.
That helps us too much to change the mood of the scenes because, as we said, we cannot change the mood of the level just with a main light because the sprites are using a different reflection of the light. So we decide to make it with the correct color correction, and that helps us too much.
Yeah. So that's what I was saying about. I say that you should play around with ideas, know what you want to do in the game, and buy as many assets as you wish. It's super fun, but once you get the hang of it, and for example, here we started the project, and at some point it was too bloated, so we rebooted the whole thing, and we started from scratch. And then when we did that, we started to cherry pick each asset we put in the game, because that has helped a ton when we did upgrades in Unity, and also when we started porting the game to different consoles. And as Gus said, it's in each one of our assets, we fully use it completely. Like this is pretty much all we got is 2D terrain. We got Amplify color, and there is another one called In Control, which was before the new Unity input system, which has helped us a ton to be able to support next generation consoles, all the inputs, and allow rebinding and all the kind of funny things you have to do for PC support, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you go.
I love I think like there was a theme this week with all the creators we brought for Creator Spotlight. So including your team, Crying Sons, and the Falconeer yesterday, they all kind of said the same thing. They approached game development very pragmatically. Everyone came from super different backgrounds. Some with like 40 years of experience in web development. The Falconeer is a solo dev, and this is your pretty like indie darling kind of team.
Yeah.
But all teams were very methodological about choosing tools, understanding that I think all of you were using, strangely enough, Unity 5, and then developed alongside the releases.
I did notice that.
Yeah. So really understanding that you want to avoid technical debts, being very careful about what you select, and taking. All three teams were very skilled also at understanding like we're going to build the tools that we need, and we're going to be committed to it and continue working with it, so that there was a lot of creative control.
Yeah, for sure. And I think Unity has been such a good pick for us, because when we started the project, there were not a lot of 2D tools. I remember we used to make the meshes ourselves in Maya, and we did a shader that moved the characters along the sprite sheet. But but it got tricky, and we were learning how to do animation. So it was a lot of learning. But while we learned, the engine grew, and it grew in such great directions for us that we didn't need to add a lot of extra stuff. It was mostly given to us, and we learned through it. So that's why we're super happy with how each time we upgrade the project, there's no major issues. I think the last time, right now we're in 2019 because we want to be on a stable build for release. But we're so excited to the new tools that has been shown, the new render pipeline for, especially for 2D games, or the new 2D lighting system. There's so many cool things that are being shown that we can't wait to play it. But I think it has been such a pleasure to working with the engine right now, with the nested prefabs and stuff like that. They add up so well to our main project, and I think it also helps a lot to be as close as possible to the engine, so you don't divert too much. And it's super easy to scale up that way without any technical debt, as you said.
It's amazing to see all of this achieved without the new 2D tools as well, right? So like,
yeah.
What? Can't wait to see your next project after you get your hands on
yeah.
those tools.
You can wait to try them.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, you used Amplify Color. I noticed that you didn't jump into the post-processing that's within Unity. So I'm just wondering, or maybe you did, but I'm just wondering about that. Did you use Unity's post-processing at all?
So what we do use post-processing just for stuff like the water shader. We also have a couple of surface reflection for ice and stuff like that we do use post-process. For example, the stencil buffer, it's kind of like a post-process effect. So that's mostly what we use. But aside from that, we played around with some blur effects on the second level that Anna was playing. But it was looking pretty cool, but we wanted to keep the game as running as close to 60 as possible on the Switch. So that's why we decided to remove it. But other than that, I think it was mostly what we tried to. We're very traditional that way. I think. I think it since our arts are like that, I am as well on my side. So I prefer to really understand where I'm adding to the project. So when you are actually optimizing, it's not too bad. You don't have things under your control that you don't know about. So for post-process, that's pretty much all we do.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for giving us such a deep dive into the art. We're going to go on a little break right now, between 5 to 10 minutes. So stick around. When we're back, we're going to talk about the audio in the game. We're going to play a little video of an orchestra that actually played the music for the game. So I'm so excited to see that video. And then we're going to talk about the process behind the music. And then we'll then jump into talking about designing a game for multi-platform.
Awesome.
So we'll see you after the break.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you guys soon.
Hello, welcome back, everyone. Thanks for sticking around. It seems like there's more of you than before we went on the break, so that's great.
Just a tiny bit.
Just a few more. I'm glad you all stuck around. So yeah, like as promised, we're gonna play a little video that shows the live recording of the music by an orchestra. I can't wait to. I actually personally haven't seen this video, so I can't wait to watch it with you. And then we'll jump into talking about that process of recording the music for the game. So let's cut to that video.
Cool. Nice. So why don't you tell us a little bit? Because you're the one who was the mastermind slash director.
Yeah, not the mastermind. Yeah, I was principally or mainly I have been coordinating everything with a big university here in Mexico, the Tec de Monterrey, that they have also the degree in audio for video games and movies. So that's why they help us a lot, and also the government here in the state of Puebla with the orchestra. Cinco de Mayo is the name of the orchestra. So yeah, that was like most of the work that was super hard to coordinate to make this possible
Mm.
because it's not common here, I guess in Mexico and mostly here in Puebla, that is the city that I live, to record a live orchestra for a project, for a game in this case.
Is this something that you knew you were always going to do, or is it more of that came after with maybe Team 17, or how did that happen?
No, we wanted as a
Okay.
wish, or and also the game deserved it because we wanted to make a full experience. I mean, all the art is hand drawn, so the game was needing that part that the music need to be recorded in live. We have some at first for of course that we made all the music digitally, but we feel that doesn't match well.
It wasn't
it's not that
matching.
doesn't match. Yeah, that we wanted something unique, so something integral. Sorry for the noise, and that's why we decide. Okay, we will try. We will try to make this possible, the live orchestra, but we always have the plan B to keep everything in digitally. But fortunately, we could achieve this.
So, how much of the game's music was done with an orchestra versus digital?
All the
All the
soundtrack.
soundtrack.
All the
Yeah.
soundtrack,
Everything.
yeah.
All the
Yeah.
soundtrack.
Yeah, I remember he chased it so much. It was I was kind of nervous at first because I remember it was taking a long time to set things up. He was talking a lot to Majo Felix, who was one of the composers, and his cousin Oscar Alcala. They are both the composers, and he was talking to them so much, but it was taking a long time, honestly. And I was kind of worried that this might be very overwhelming thing to achieve, but I'm surprised how everything wrapped up at the end. He got the permissions, he contacted the people, he arranged. It was just 2 days of recording, so it was just mostly going, do your thing, and go out. And the orchestra is so good. They didn't practice much, a lot of the tracks, I think, but they sound amazing. And I remember when they were editing the whole soundtrack, Gus wanted to keep some pretty natural things, like for example the turning of the pages, so it feels a little bit like real when if you actually get to hear the fine details of the soundtrack, you will hear those things.
Yeah,
I
and
love
the
that.
team that worked on it is very talented. Like for example, we got the sound engineer, right? Who's he's Juan Switalski, and he's Grammy nominated audio engineer. So we were super lucky to partner with a really good team for this. And it was like a lot. It was a lot of, like Rodrigo and Gus were saying, it's a lot of work behind it because every the track has to be composed for every instrument, and so it was a lot of work behind and during the recording. So yeah,
but it was, I think it adds so much because after you actually finish the game, you get to keep the soundtrack, and that things last so much after that. You keep it on your playlist, you remember some moments in the game. So I greatly appreciate that Gus took the time to set this thing up. I think it was honestly a lot of luck and a lot of work, but I think people will enjoy it a lot with the whole experience.
Yeah.
Were you there in person?
Yeah.
Sure.
Were you there in person, like to witness the orchestra playing live?
Yeah. Gus was there the first day recording. From the first day, he arranged everything with the rest of the crew. Since he is in Puebla, he's like 2 hours drive from me. I only arrived the second day because I didn't want to put him on the nervous side because I was mostly doing nothing around recording. He was taking care of everything.
Yeah.
But man, getting there and see everything set up, the giant cellos in the back, and you're like, okay, and they're just gonna record the music for our game. I don't know. It was kind of weird. and surreal. It was amazing.
Yeah, we moved a full recording studio to the main hall. Imagine that much work. It was, oh my God. And it was
Yeah.
with just the minimum time to record everything. So yeah,
Yeah, two
So
very
worth it.
special
we were lucky.
days. Yeah,
Mhm.
a very special weekend, I think.
Oh. Incredible. Yeah, so I guess we're gonna do like a go to talk about the like go back into the editor to talk more about like how you built the game and ported it to different platforms.
Sure.
Yeah. So let's jump to Rodrigo, your screen share, right? And then
Sure.
I guess you did like port the game to Switch, right?
Yep.
And you designed the game with multi-platform in mind. So you can tell us about some of the optimization tricks that went into that.
Sure. So when developing the game, we always like to keep a good let's say benchmark performance wise. So we always kept the Switch close to our development cycle. As soon as we were able to actually get our hands on a dev kit and try the game there, I think it looks amazing there. But it also helped us out to really know when we're already going too far. For example, when I talked about the blur effects in the game, it was mostly going a bit over the edge. So we tried to find a good solutions that are halfway through that still help out. And I think with that in mind, it has helped a lot to keep constantly testing each build through that. And also we've been trying to keep. I think there's a good balance of testing constantly on the console you are aiming to release, and also because the other next gen consoles, PS5 and Xbox, they're so good with the performance that that's really not an issue. It was mostly there to take care of the core features like haptic feedback and really fun stuff. But for the Switch, it was a bit more tailored to be very crafty with optimization. So, for example, something I mentioned before is about cooling everything. So, what we do in the game is we try to make everything that is not important disabled. As you saw in the scene previously, some stuff got disabled. And for example, here, if you see that enemy walking around, once you go far enough in the scene, it will just completely disappear. So not even the animator is updating. And once you go back, it will appear again. That's pretty much the mantra for everything in the game. Everything that is not required is gone. And that has helped a ton with how the game performs. So it happens with, especially with entities and stuff like that, but also it happens with animations, ambient animations. So we got a manager that handles if anything is close, you should update it or not. And also something that gets a bit more tricky is, for example, when you got multiple characters, you still want to update them if they are nearby, because they will, as I mentioned, they will combat on their own. So even if you're not seeing them on the screen, they will still engage. So let me get closer, and then she still engages, and the preview is shown here. That's a render texture with a small camera on it. So there's some tricks and some things that we want to consider, of course. But if your project's not about multiple characters and stuff like that, I think having always being able to manage your resources where they matter, it's super important, and that's something that has helped a lot with optimization. I think that was one of the key features, and also when playing on the Switch, we added a dynamic resolution, which is built in Unity. It's so good. It's kind of tricky to set up properly, so it's not very noticeable. For example, when you are doing dynamic resolution, you want to scale the UI so it's not very noticeable. But there's some sections or key points in the game where it might spike the performance a little bit, and you want to make sure that it's as stable as possible. So having dynamic resolution in the game has been so good to keep things I prefer to sacrifice resolution than having frame drops, so that helps a lot with feeling smooth. We will of course iterate on performance as we go. We will want to make sure that the game scales as low as possible, but I think it's a great middle ground solution to be right there on the 60 frames without a lot of compromise. I think that was mostly what we wanted to touch on optimization. So yeah, I've talked too much, so yeah, that was mostly it.
No, not at all. I thought it was really interesting that you mentioned again the recurring theme this week for all the creators that they all said they had a Switch or a mobile version, so they knew that that would be the benchmark that they would
Yes.
build their game on. So to them, and also the Falconeer yesterday, who has their Switch version releasing today, they're like, yeah, my favorite version is definitely the Switch one because that's the one I worked on. That's the one that I optimized on. And everything else, like you said, on PC for sure,
Yeah.
everyone has like amazing graphics nowadays. It's, GPUs like running and everything is really easy. But Switch making it look good. I think that's why you worked at a base 60
Yes.
FPS
Yes.
to make sure that it looked good.
And also, I think something that is worth noting is that we had a demo early on Steam. It was a time demo, so we did it through different events on Steam. And I think it helps so much to be constantly testing the game there because, as you said, people are usually have a lot of resources more than a portable version of the Switch. But also, it has a lot of different configurations. So what we did is we always make the builds for the demo for main branch. We don't have a separate branch for the demo. So that way, when the demo goes out and it's tested by the users, we got direct feedback of if everything is working well on their side. So hopefully when it comes to launch, there is not a lot of things that go on the wrong side. For example, we got some edge cases with high refresh rate monitors, with widescreen resolutions, controllers, a lot of input stuff that we had to fix. Some requests for how people wanted to adjust their settings and stuff like that.
For the key binding system as well.
Yeah. So I think keeping the demo as close as possible and putting it constantly to test it, I think it also helps a lot to know how things are going, and it doesn't get overwhelming when you get closer to the end to put it out there in the world, because there's a lot of extra stuff you have to cater for PC users, right?
Yeah, that's actually a great pro tip. Remember, guys, put your art out there in the world.
Yeah,
so that
yeah. You get a lot of feedback too. Yeah,
it'll make it better in the long run. One thing you did with this project is you worked alongside each release since Unity 5, because you started this project a while back, right? Can you tell us about the render pipeline you're using and how you avoided technical debt, like as you jumped between and upgraded the project?
Sure. So for our render pipeline, I actually was playing around with the new render pipelines. Unfortunately, I think it was a bit more risky on our side to go in that direction because it was getting super close to release. But right now we're using the default render pipeline in Unity as it comes with how you upgrade the project with stock version. So that was mostly what we did for that. And sorry, you mentioned another thing?
Like the render pipeline and the upgrading the project through the different versions.
Yes, sorry. Yeah, so touching again from what I was saying earlier, is that the game has been mostly using stock engine stuff. So what we did is just keep it clean, use the assets you really want to use. Once you get used to it, so have another project to experiment with them, and once you bring them on board, know what you're dealing with. For example, we also use another open source library called Yarn Spinner, which is for dialogues. So good, but it's only code, and you have to really take your time to understand it. So when you upgrade the project, it doesn't become overwhelming to manage and to give you a lot of extra stuff to deal with. So I think Unity does a great job upgrading between versions. You just don't have to load your project with enough stuff that it becomes a problem later on. So mostly that. I think it has been super easy for us to keep upgrading the project.
That's really awesome to hear.
Yeah.
we often have a lot of developers that are really scared of that. So to hear someone who's like really pragmatic about that, like I said, and really
we've been jumping through all the Unity versions at this point. So I think there must be some pretty interesting stuff inside the project that maybe a Unity staff can tell us that are super old stuff, might be inside.
Yeah, we'll take a look under the hood. I think
and-
also there's a couple of things. Like we just mentioned the audio, but we forgot to mention that actually you're not using any plugins either. Everything is custom built inside the Unity editor to actually achieve all the audio and the mixing and everything.
Yeah. So looking back, I think adding F mode or something like that might be a good choice. But on our side, we only use the stock audio mixer. We use a lot of scripts within animators to know which audio to play, and we use a couple of different systems. So we mostly build them ourselves to as I said, you want to be able to manage what you have in your hands, so it doesn't become problematic later on when you want to support or you want to be extending the game a bit more. So you got all your resources at hand,
Yeah. Another thing you did, I think, to maintain like quick development and to make sure, like, because another reason you don't want a project to be bloated is whenever you enter play mode, you don't want it to take an hour to jump in, right? And also when you're testing things and prototyping things, you don't want to constantly be jumping back and forth, right? So you also created like a debug dev menu, right, to allow you to test things rapidly, to start at any save point, to bypass main menus. So I would love for you to show us that like debug menu you've made.
Sure. So I think another suggestion I have for other devs is that once you get the hang of your project, you're working on it, take some time to actually develop stuff for you, for how you work in the game. So for example, as you mentioned, let me just put this a little bit bigger. So right here, we got as you said, a developer menu. This won't be, of course, in the final builds of the game. But over here, we got a couple
it's
of
like an in-game menu to me. It's great.
Yeah, so for example, this item over here, it's exclusively for us, for the developers. And what you do is you can toss an arrow and you can teleport to it. And that's super fun to play around.
Yeah.
How's that not in the game?
But you can break the full
That's a lot
campaign,
of
so.
fun. Yeah, when you have to
but
test
it's fun.
something, is very
Yeah. So we did test it in the game. It broke out so much stuff. But for example, stuff like that, it helps us out to work like that. And for example, here you can turn on or off the characters. Here you can drop different items, for example, an elixir or stuff like that. So you can, for example, drop keys to enter somewhere else. So make it fun to play around within the project. So because you will be spending so much here that I saw some projects that every time they run the game, they have to go through the main menu and then to the scenes and enter the game. And that it takes a toll. So every time you want to test it or find a bug, for example, for QA, I think it has helped a lot to give them tools to be able to properly set up everything. So for example, we made a photo mode. We want to make sure we have to put this one in the main game, but we want to add a lot of support to it. So in the photo mode, you can, for example, put a watermark for the social media stuff. Toggle the UI. So
it's easier for recording or any screenshots.
Yeah, easier for recording stuff. So for example, for display
so you don't have to jump into Photoshop every time you want to make a graphic.
Yeah, for example, this one is for displaying the hitboxes of the characters when they are fighting. So that one is super useful when testing stuff. So spend some time to make sure that you got the tools at hand to prototype the project. For example, another example, pretty cool one is this one right here. So if I stop the game and press play again, the scene will reset, of course, right? But what we did is we did a temporary save, which is only on the when you are on the developer mode, where you can actually do like a save anywhere you want. Because in the game you got save stations, but for example here you want to take just a sequence. Let's say like this is an important sequence, right? So you want to make sure that the game keeps that state. So you can save the game, and then if you press play again, you will have that same setup. So when you're trying to test a cinematic sequence or an important part of the story, you're trying to debug something, that's super helpful, because that way you don't have to set everything up or break a lot of stuff. So it does take some time to develop these kind of things, and you want to make sure that it doesn't overwhelm you have to always keep in track that the focus is the game, making the game, of course, but
always when something is taking more time from your hands that it should, make some space to make the tools for that, because that has helped a lot to be, especially super fun to try the game to debug, because as you get further in development, the bugs start to get more narrow and specific, and having the tools to be able to replicate those, it's super important on our side. So I think that's something that I would like to pass along, that just spend some time to make some quality of life improvements to the project.
Rodrigo even added a way to check, for example, for the text, like localization tags, so that we could find any bugs, localization, and so also like the sort of God mode, so that we didn't die every time like trying to like test something. So like all of those things like were like the developer menu grew as we were needing.
Yeah, these are all the localization tags, so we know where they're at when debugging. It looks super messy, but that way we can know which exact test is giving us problems or stuff like that. So, for example, here you can put a watermark while playing. So for social media, you can.
This is so important, by the way. I just want to point this out. We like glossed over it, but for teams, and I see this often for smaller teams and indie teams, especially when you have one person, Anna, who's wearing multiple hats in the team, who's like, developer, but also producer, but also social media, and also marketing and community manager.
That happens.
It's so essential to be able to turn around this kind of stuff quickly, especially I think if you're working for a publisher or you're trying to pitch to a publisher, it's good to have this content to be able to produce on the fly, especially when you're, this is summer right now. We decided to do Creator Spotlight around big events. Those who are showcasing at the E3s and the big Summerfest stuff, that you have to turn this around sometimes last minute at 2:00 in the morning for some of these shows.
Yeah, for sure. Another example is, for example, here we got a menu to load any scene of the game as if you travel through it. So that way you can speed things up for QA. If they know they have to be somewhere, they don't have to walk the whole way through. So they can just go there and just be there on the camp, for example, here. I think just adding those types of things, for example, we can do here. Watermark. So I think that's something that helps out. Like I just said, having these tools, it makes it super easy. So you got an opportunity for to be focused on any social media stuff. So you can turn it around very quickly, I just said. And having the tools is super important. I think it's a good balance to not get lost in it, because of course you're trying to make the game, but always keep in track that once something is starting to slow you down, for example, we're starting to edit a lot of footage with watermarks, and it's so easy to add in Unity, right? You just add sprite. So you just have to make the time to add this kind of stuff, so you don't have to be dragged along every time. Once you are starting repeating a lot of stuff continually, that's where you may want to put attention to that spot.
Yeah, like Rodrigo said, it may take time to develop those dev menu options, but in the long run, it saves you so much time and it makes it so much easier that it's worth it at the end.
And then if you make another game, you might know what to add from the beginning if it's a similar type of game. You can start with that debug menu and you'll just
exactly.
Yeah, that's great. A lot of people in the chat are like, end game item maybe for the arrow teleporting gun. They're like,
they'll have to play it and see
warp arrow.
Love
it. I was wondering, you mentioned that can you just drop the character anywhere quickly?
Yeah.
Instead of using the teleport arrow, is there a way to just drag the character and drop them somewhere?
Sure. So another thing that is important, for example, here I just reset the whole thing to be as it was in the starting scene. So if you see we don't have the other character enabled, you can toggle it on the debug menu, or you can just do another thing. So for example, here she's not around, but if you see the save files, they are just an XML file. So let me bring it here. So it's super readable. Right here, this is just a clean save. And you can see here, for example, this is Greak, the main character, Adara, which is the other character. And you can read everything, like, for example, their mana, how many inverter slots they have, the scenes we already discovered, stuff like that. For example, here you can trigger a cinematic sequence on the camp. So this is super readable. This is another thing that is important so you can replicate a lot of stuff. And when you get errors or bugs, you can request a save and see what's going on and replicate it super easy. So for example, here I can enable Adara, and she will be in any point of the scene. Let me start this here. So she's right here, right? So you can put her wherever you want, like here, and the game will start. And yeah, you can just set up everything how you wanna try it out. Yeah, so it's easier to test, right? And if she's not in the scene and you want to be enabled, she will just appear at your side. So that way we can just keep things easy to test, and so she's like in 0, 0, 0.
Points.
Yes.
Or if they're not, or you can manually place it. Wonderful. Another final system I guess you've built is the localization and dialogue system. I'm sure you made this game. There's a lot of text in the game.
Yes. Yes.
You want it to be available in different languages, and sure. I'm sure you built a system to achieve that more easily.
Yeah. So for the system, for example, I previously showed you very briefly just a message here.
But first of all, what languages is the game available in?
Anna, can you? Yeah.
It's gonna be Spanish, English, German, French, Italian, make sure I don't miss anything. Japanese, Russian, Brazilian, Portuguese. Did I say that word?
No, you didn't.
and Chinese. Yeah, simplified Chinese. So
a lot of work has been done from Team 70 side to help us out to implement some of those systems. But the main system in the game is called Yarn Spinner. It's an open library. I encourage you to check it out because those guys are amazing. They just put their tools out there. It's just on Night in the Woods. So I saw a GDC talk about that, and they explained how it works, and I was super on board. So how it works is just it's using it's an interpreter for a language called Fine, which is for making stories, dynamic stories in the internet. So it's pretty much like a logic-based system, and it comes with they even did a editor. This is kind of, I think it's an old version for them, but this is pretty much what it does. So for example, here you can make different decisions between the characters. So for example, here you can make something different. For example, here, action 1, action 2.
It's very simple with that tool to do like the dialogue trees.
Yeah, so how it works is just an internal library where you have to merge it with your message system. But over here, you need to customize it to your needs. It doesn't come out of the box as easy as other stuff. It's mostly a library. But what you can do is you can make this type of logic-based stuff. So, for example, here we can edit this kind of messages, and how it works is you put one of these tags here. So it's kind of like a pseudo scripting language, and then you can put here our message. This. So after this, it's plugged in. Let's say hello. You can add multiple choices, so you can add multiple variables if you want. For example, here we're checking if the player has something in their inventory or stuff like that. So, for example, in here you have to first recompile the whole thing. Hopefully, it will work. So, what you do is once you plug those dialogues in, you can just make the flow of each text like that. Yeah. And then, for example, here I can show you a pretty messy one, but let me show you. For example,
even you can control some animation of the characters.
Yeah. So you can customize it the way you want. This is more an advanced type of thing. You can add code to it. You can add animations to it. And for example, for localization, we added this. So you can that's what I was saying about understanding anything you bring on board, so you can fully customize it. They pretty much have the interpreter of how the scripting works, but you have to add the stuff. For example, we added the game actions. For example, this throws cinematic bars, this lowers the volume, and right here, this is a localization tag. So if we go here to our project, and then we go to our localization, let me go, for example, here. So this is the guy, and then we go here. This is a dictionary with what he is supposed to say, right? So it comes back. So as I mentioned, since we're based in Latin America, we are more comfortable with making the game in Spanish. But and that's something that I think is very important, because since we know our audience is more comfortable in English, but our development it's in Spanish, we try to add localization early, so both systems we work together with both systems, and the artists and the design team and everything can feel comfortable making the game in Spanish, but at some point we just localize it and it's ready to go in both languages. So I just see here we can call to an animation, or we can make back to a localization tag. So for example, if we go to the Chinese section here, you can see like here are the same tags in Chinese, right? So it's a dictionary. You can change the files in the dictionaries depending on the language, and then you can loop them back here by their tag and their character name. So yeah, if somebody needs starting with this, I suggest go see the Yarn Spinner tool. It's called. It's an open library, and if you got any extended questions, feel free to write us an email. We'll be
And
happy to help.
localization seems like not a big task, but it ends up being a very big task depending on how many languages.
Yes.
So I think what worked for us was planning ahead of time, like Rodrigo said, like because we have to work on 2 languages to be comfortable, right? Like for Team 17 and the audience have it in English, and for our team to have it in Spanish, we sort of had already like a way
The
of
basics,
working
yeah.
in the basics. And so when we added more languages, we already had an idea on how to integrate them. But this is something that I would probably not leave at the end, because it could be a little overwhelming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it can slip by any second. So I suggest you start thinking about it early in your project once it starts to get serious, and especially if you're not native to English, I think it's good and a good way to be comfortable, and also start early within your project. As you said, Hassan, also the developer tools, you have to keep those in track so they don't slip by and you are comfortable when this problem
As you're
comes
building
along.
the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you for showing us that. Super in-depth look at the localization. And that's something we don't often see, and something we haven't seen on a lot of these streams, to be honest. So I'm really happy you like dove deep
Thank
into
you.
that for our audience. That's quite a unique thing that to look at. And for anybody who wasn't there at the beginning, I'd love for them to see the game in action, because we played a bit of the game in the beginning. And I'd love for us to wrap up the stream with a bit more gameplay and some more Q&A. Any final questions that you have, please drop it in the chat, and we'll be asking the questions as they're playing the more of the game.
Yeah,
So
Anna,
let's jump back
why don't
to
you show us?
Anna's screen for more gameplay.
Sounds good.
I have one question. So tell me what your favorite, I mean, it's really actually rare to hear a team be saying like, oh, we worked on the PS5, but the optimization for that was really fun. In literally every other team we've talked to,
Yeah.
they're a face of pain when they're talking about multi-platform and working on different hardware was palpable. So it's kind of interesting that you said that. What's your favorite part then of your game that you worked on? It could be like a tool, or it could be something a mechanic you built, or what was it that you really loved working on?
Yeah, for me personally, I think, I don't know, there's so many things. I think making, for example, the water was very fun because it's very visual and you do a lot of work with animation. So, but I do enjoy working on the back end. I don't know about Gus, but I do enjoy having me a good internal problem, for example, the save system that nobody sees. It's always fun to work on something pretty big that nobody notices at the end, but it works. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know. There's so many things about game development that are interesting. So I don't know which one to pick, but yeah.
In my case, what I enjoy at most was implementing all the asset stuff in the level. I mean, about create the atmosphere of the level. That was my favorite part. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it allowed you to be like, that's the part where you get to be more of like an artist and
also
like finicky around the feel
and
and
also
stuff
to
like
match
that.
the animations in Unity, because that is chill. You can be listening some relaxed music and just adding the animation, I guess.
Yeah, so probably something that I don't enjoy as much working is audios, because you cannot hear anything else. You cannot put any podcast, you cannot hear any music. You have to be completely isolated for the audio. So that's kind of annoying, but
Yeah.
it brings a lot of value too.
Especially if you're working on one thing and you're hearing the same audio bit over
Yes.
and over like 1,000 times. Sorry,
Yes.
my dog decided she really likes audio too.
I missed Pepper. It's been a while.
And Anna, I guess that
This is another.
she
We were talking
enjoyed
about. Yeah, we were
writing
talking about traditions.
dialogues.
Yes.
This is another tradition, having Pepper scream in the middle of a stream. So congratulations.
Awesome.
You're gonna make the compilation.
You got the full experience.
You got the full experience. Yeah.
Sorry, what were you saying, Gus?
No, just the favorite part of Anna. I guess that she enjoyed making the dialogues of the game.
Oh yes. So I had to learn how to do like dialogue trees, and of course Rodrigo Angus like.
No,
taught
but
me
I
that.
mean about giving personality to each character.
Oh, they're giving it
She-
to yeah. So I helped Goose with some of the dialogues of the game and
Amazing.
making sure that they had the personality. So I got very involved in the story with Goose. So we basically wrote like the personality of each character, and so we tried when they speak, they that shows, right, if they are grumpy or if they're a very like bubbly personality, like that shows as they speak. And that was very interesting and very fun to work with.
You did some writing as well on top of everything else that you add that to the list.
Yeah, I think your team is really interesting, or not interesting. It's just really nice. It's been really like a very fun, wholesome experience. Ever since the first call we had, you can really tell that you guys really like each other, enjoy working with each other, have a great like relationship, and I think it shows a lot in the game. I think that's why I asked like, are you all family? And is the
feels like
character
it.
reflective of that? Is there some autobiographical element? And it was kind of fun to like see that, that transferred into the game really well.
I think when we addressed the whole concept of the game about being siblings, that's something we played around, because I think when you're making a game, you have to make a statement somewhere. Maybe you want people to have fun, maybe you want to make a different type of message, but something we understood very well was family between each other. So I think that's where we were able to actually think about why would any of these characters go into this situation about putting yourself in danger and going through all these adventures. If it was someone that really meant to you like a sibling, I think that's something we understand very well, and that's something we felt comfortable about tackling the game and giving it a voice in the game. So I think that's mostly where it comes from.
Yeah.
And it was always like important for us to have fun with it, right? Like if you're making a game and like you're having fun, it's a fun thing to do.
Right.
So like sometimes we would just like have fun and prototype funny things, or it's just part of like making games.
I'm actually curious, since this was like a long project, and you just mentioned having fun while making a project. I wonder, were there any lulls at all? Because we always talk, we can spend a lot of time talking about how great everything went, but it's also good to know when there are lulls how you maintain motivation. Yes.
No, of course. I think, as you mentioned, like, developing a game is hard. It's complicated. There's a lot of technical difficulties in the middle, and it's also a long process. So I think when things are starting to get more serious, we have to address different deadlines, and you have to maybe spend some more time working than usual. I think mostly what gives us a lot of value to it is seeing a positive reception. That's been amazing. Seeing a couple of fans bring up people playing the game, cheering you on. Like I remember when we were first on a first event on PAX West before the pandemic and everything. I remember we showed the game early, and people lights were lighting up about what they wanted to see in the game, and that's something like gave us a lot of value to bring it to them. So even if we didn't have it at the time, we're like, oh, you can do this, and I hope you can do this, and it gives you such joy that people seem to be liking what you're doing, right? So I think that's mostly from my side what motivates me to keep doing this. And I think
Community.
Yes.
the team, I think, it gets super motivated once they see a good post from a popular streamer or a small maybe a person just saying like super nice things about the game. We got a bot on Slack that pretty much tracks every time someone is posted about the game on Twitter. So we do.
wow.
I love that.
we do hear about a lot of most of the comments that come through.
Yeah,
Great.
go follow them on Twitter and tag them and tell them how much you appreciate all the work they did on the team.
Thank you.
Join their Discord,
you.
and most importantly, go to Steam.
Wishlist
You're
the
watching
game.
this right now. Go to Steam, go to the games page, and wishlist it. We're gonna drop a link to their page there. The wishlist makes a huge difference
Yeah.
for the Steam algorithm and for the developers. So if you want to support this game, please do that.
Yeah.
Anahit, Gustavo, and Rodriguez, thank you so much for joining us. This was an incredible stream. It was so insightful. Personally, I learned so much. I know Carol did too, and our chat have been so engaged and asked some great questions. Thank you so much for that. That's the last stream for the week. We'll be back next week with more Creator Spotlight. And if you missed any of this, you can watch the Twitch VOD after the fact. And later we'll be uploading a cut down version of these to YouTube. So stay tuned for that.
Thank you so much for inviting us. It was a pleasure being here and sharing us some more about the game. And we hope people like it when it comes out August 17th.
Yes, we love hearing your thoughts. And like they said, like if you have a chance to play the demo either on Steam or on the Nintendo Switch, it will be great to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to be here with you guys.
And thank you, Carol and Hassan. It was
Yeah.
great.
That's so
Of
nice.
course.
Pleasure having you. We hope to have you back again for other streams, maybe other different types of streams we do, or future games you want to show off. We're always happy to have you again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, and good luck on your August 17th release. I hope you're gonna take it easy, and it's gonna be a smooth sailing. I'm sure it will.
Hopefully.
I hope so.
This team's got it together.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, and we'll be back next week, guys. We'll tell you all the secret guests that we'll have, not so secret guests that we'll have for next week. So stay tuned. Make sure you follow the channel to find out more, and to follow us on Twitter to find the full list that we'll announce at the beginning of every week. So thanks a lot, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you.